Hello, friend. Thank you for being here. I want to share something with you today, a story that changed my life forever. It's about love, loss, and learning that sometimes the hardest battles we fight are not against each other, but for each other. This is my story. This is about how three broken hearts learned to beat as one. So please, sit with me for a while. Let me tell you about the man who loved us both and how we found our way home. I met Daniel on a Tuesday afternoon in September, and I remember thinking that fall had never looked so beautiful. The coffee shop was busy, every table taken, and when he asked if he could share mine, I said yes without thinking twice. He had kind eyes, the sort that crinkle at the corners when he smiles, and there was something about him that felt safe. We talked for 2 hours that day about everything and nothing: books, music, the way the city changes when the leaves start to turn gold. He made me laugh, really laugh, the kind that comes from your belly and makes you forget about all the heavy things you carry around. When he finally stood to leave, he hesitated at the door, turned back, and asked if he could see me again. I said yes before he even finished the question. That night, lying in bed, I replayed every word, every smile, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years: hope. Our second date was a walk through the park, and that's when he told me about his daughter. Her name was Lily. She was 7 years old, and she was his whole world. He told me about his late wife, Emma, who had died 3 years ago from cancer. The way he spoke about her was beautiful and sad all at once. He didn't talk about her like she was gone. He talked about her like she was still part of everything he did. He told me that moving forward felt like betrayal sometimes, but that he was tired of being stuck in yesterday. He said he wanted to try again, to let someone in, but that Lily would always come first. I respected that. I loved that about him, actually. It showed me who he was: a man who honored his promises, even the ones that hurt. Over the next few months, Daniel and I fell into something that felt like love, though neither of us said the word out loud yet. We went on quiet dates, always when Lily was with his parents or at a friend's house. He was careful, protective of her, and I understood. She had lost so much already. He didn't want to confuse her or bring someone into her life unless he was sure. And honestly, I wasn't ready to meet her either. I was falling for this man, but the thought of stepping into a child's life, a child who was still grieving her mother, terrified me. What if she hated me? What if I made everything worse? But love doesn't wait for you to be ready. One Saturday, 6 months into our relationship, everything changed. Daniel called me, his voice tight with panic. His parents had a family emergency and couldn't watch Lily. He had a work obligation he couldn't miss. He asked if I could come over just for a few hours to stay with her. My heart pounded. I wanted to say no. I wanted more time, but I heard the desperation in his voice, and I said yes. When I arrived at his house, Lily was sitting on the couch, clutching a stuffed bunny that looked like it had been loved for years. She had her mother's dark curls and her father's soft eyes, and when she looked at me, I saw fear and curiosity all tangled together. Daniel introduced us, kissed her forehead, and promised he'd be back soon. Then he left, and it was just the two of us. The first hour was silent. She colored in her book, and I sat across the room, pretending to read. I didn't know what to say. Every sentence I thought of felt wrong, but then she dropped a crayon, and it rolled across the floor to my feet. I picked it up and handed it to her, and she whispered, "Thank you." Her voice was small, but it was something. I asked her what she was coloring, and she showed me a picture of a house with a big sun and two people holding hands. She said it was her and her daddy. I told her it was beautiful. She stared at me for a long moment, then asked, "Are you my daddy's friend?" I nodded. "Yes, I am." She looked back down at her picture and said, "My mommy was his friend too, but she's in heaven now." My throat tightened, and I didn't know what to say, so I just said, "Your mommy must have been very special." Lily nodded, her eyes shining. "She was the best. Daddy says she's always watching me." I smiled, even though my heart ached. "Then you're very lucky. Not everyone gets a guardian angel." She liked that. I could see it in the way her shoulders relaxed just a little. We spent the rest of the afternoon together, and by the time Daniel came home, Lily had shown me her room, her favorite books, and the photo album filled with pictures of her mom. I looked at every picture, listened to every story, and I realized something that scared me. I was falling in love with this little girl too. Over the next year, I became part of their lives, slowly, carefully. Daniel and I were careful never to show too much affection in front of Lily. We didn't hold hands, didn't kiss, didn't even sit too close. We wanted her to feel safe, to adjust at her own pace, and for a while it seemed to be working. She warmed up to me. We baked cookies together, read stories, watched her favorite movies. She even laughed at my jokes sometimes, but there were hard days too, days when she would go quiet and pull away. Days when she would look at me with something like resentment, and I knew she was thinking about her mom. I never pushed. I gave her space. I reminded myself that I wasn't trying to replace anyone. I was just trying to love them both. But love is complicated, especially when grief is involved. One evening, after I had been part of their lives for over a year, Daniel and I were in the kitchen. Lily was supposed to be asleep upstairs. We thought we were alone. He pulled me close, wrapped his arms around me, and kissed me for the first time in his home. It was soft and sweet, and for a moment everything felt right. Then we heard a gasp. We turned, and there she was, Lily, standing in the doorway, her bunny clutched to her chest, her face filled with shock and something that looked like betrayal. She didn't say a word. She just turned and ran. Daniel called after her, but she locked herself in her room. I stood frozen in the kitchen, my heart shattering. We had been so careful, but it hadn't been enough. Daniel spent an hour outside her door, talking to her, apologizing, trying to explain. She wouldn't open it. She wouldn't answer. Finally, he came back downstairs, his face pale, his hands shaking. He said she was crying, saying that he didn't love her mommy anymore, that he was forgetting her. I told him I should leave, that I was making things worse, but he grabbed my hand and said, "No, please, I need you." But I could see the torn look in his eyes. He loved me, but he loved her more, and he should. She was his daughter. That night I went home and cried until I had nothing left. I didn't know what to do. I loved them both so much, but I felt like I was hurting the person who mattered most. The next few weeks were the hardest of my life. Lily barely spoke to me. She wouldn't look at her father. The house that had felt like it was becoming a home now felt cold and broken. Daniel and I talked about ending things, about whether it was fair to keep going when it was causing her so much pain. But every time we got close to saying goodbye, we couldn't. We loved each other too much. Then one night, Lily disappeared. Daniel had put her to bed, and when he went to check on her an hour later, she was gone. Her window was open. Her bunny was gone. We panicked. We searched the house, the yard, the neighborhood. Daniel called the police while I ran through the streets calling her name. My mind went to the darkest places. What if something happened to her? What if she was hurt? What if we never found her? 2 hours later, the police found her at the cemetery, sitting in front of her mother's grave, crying. When Daniel brought her home, she was shaking, her face red and swollen. I stayed back, watching from the doorway as he held her, rocked her, whispered to her. Then she said something that broke me. She said, "I just wanted to ask Mommy if it's okay. If it's okay that you love someone else." Daniel's face crumpled, and he pulled her tighter. He told her that her mommy would want him to be happy, that she would want all of them to be happy. He told her that loving me didn't mean he loved her mother any less, that love doesn't run out or get used up, it grows. And then he looked at me, standing in the doorway with tears streaming down my face, and he said, "And she loves you too, sweetheart. She loves you so much." Lily looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw the little girl who was so scared, so lost, so afraid of losing the only parent she had left. I walked over slowly, knelt down in front of her, and I said, "Lily, I will never, ever try to replace your mom. She was here first. She will always be your mommy. But if you'll let me, I would love to be part of your life, not instead of her, just beside her memory, because I love your dad, and I love you, and I want us to be a family, a different kind of family, but a family." She stared at me for a long time, her little chest rising and falling, her eyes searching mine. Then, in the smallest voice, she asked, Do you promise you won't leave? My heart broke and healed all at once. I promise, I whispered. She nodded slowly, and then, so quietly I almost missed it, she said, "Okay." It wasn't perfect after that. Healing never is. There were still hard days, still moments when Lily would pull away or cry for her mom. But slowly, carefully, we built something new. We talked about Emma often. We looked at pictures, told stories, kept her memory alive. I never tried to take her place. I just tried to be present, to be patient, to be love in a different form. A year later, Daniel and I got married in a small ceremony in the backyard. Lily stood beside us, holding a bouquet of flowers, wearing a necklace with her mother's picture inside. During the vows, Daniel turned to her and promised that he would always love her mom, always keep her memory alive, and always make sure Lily knew how special she was. Then I knelt down, took Lily's hands, and made a promise too. I promised to honor her mother, to listen when she needed to talk, to give her space when she needed it, and to love her not as a replacement, but as someone who was grateful to be part of her life. She cried. I cried, we all cried, but this time they were different tears. Not tears of loss, but tears of something being stitched back together. Now, 3 years later, we are a family, a beautifully complicated, perfectly imperfect family. Lily is 10 now, and she still talks about her mom. We visit the cemetery together on her birthday and on Mother's Day. We light candles and leave flowers and tell her everything that's happened. And sometimes when Lily hugs me good night, she whispers, "I love you." And my heart fills up so full I think it might burst. Daniel still loves Emma. I know he does, and I love that about him, because it means he knows how to love deeply, how to hold on to beautiful things even when they're gone. And he loves me too, differently, but just as deeply. And together we love Lily with everything we have, because that's what love is. It's not about choosing. It's not about replacing. It's about making room. It's about holding space for the past while building something new. It's about 3 broken hearts learning to beat together, learning that you can honor what was while embracing what is. He loves us both. I love them both, and somehow that's enough. It's more than enough. It's everything. Thank you for walking this road with me, friend. I know this story had pain in it, but I hope you found the beauty too. The kind of beauty that only comes after the breaking, after the healing, after the choice to keep loving even when it's hard. Life doesn't give us easy answers, and love doesn't follow simple rules. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Love is big enough for all of us. It's wide enough to hold the past and the present. It's strong enough to make space for grief and joy at the same time. So if you're facing something hard, if you're wondering whether your heart has room for more, I want you to know, it does. Hearts don't run out of love. They just grow bigger. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here, and I hope wherever you are, you find the courage to love boldly, to hold space for the broken pieces, and to believe that something beautiful can grow from the ashes. Take care of your heart, friend. Until we meet again.